When you think of all-time greatest comedies, what comes to mind? 40-Year-Old Virgin, Superbad, Tropic Thunder, Schindler's List? All great comedies in their own right, but I don't consider any of them to be the greatest comedy ever made. My favourite comedy is a movie that I've loved since I was a kid, but now that I'm older and able to fully appreciate it, I truly believe it to be the greatest comedy movie ever made. So, what movie am I talking about? That's right, Mrs. Doubtfire, released in 1993. I imagine most of you are probably revolting at that statement. You probably think Superbad is a better comedy. I love that movie too. It's pure laughter-inducing, cringe-making, dumb fun. I might even agree with you that it is the funnier movie. So why do I hold Mrs. Doubtfire in higher regard? I think Mrs. Doubtfire is the best comedy because it walks the line between drama and comedy better than just about any movie I've ever seen. Mrs. Doubtfire is a blockbuster comedy that's hiding something special inside of it. It's the Trojan horse of comedies. The movie opens with our main character, played by Robin Williams, Daniel Hillard, referred to as Danny for most of the movie. The first thing we see Daniel do is quit his voice acting job and sneak his kids out of school so he can throw a party for his son. Danny throws this party knowing full well that his wife Miranda would be furious if she found out. I mean, he makes an absolute mess of their home. She receives a call from her mother. She heads home and sees Danny up on their kitchen table, dancing around like he's one of the kids. The movie is mostly from Danny's perspective, so it's all too easy to view Miranda as the villain. Oh come on, they're all having a great time. Can't she just relax a bit? Oh no sir, somebody's child is swinging from a chandelier. There's a donkey in her home. This is ultimately the straw that broke the camel's back, which in this case is their marriage.
Oh shit!
Miranda realizes she doesn't love Danny anymore. He cares so much about the happiness of his kids that he doesn't even see the hurt he's causing his wife. In the divorce proceedings, Miranda is awarded the house and the kids by default, due to the fact that Danny was now unemployed and homeless. He is told very clearly by the judge that the case will be revisited in 90 days. And if he has a job and a living situation suitable for children in that time, he will likely receive joint custody of his kids. Pretty reasonable, right? Seems doable. No biggie. Wrong. This man has never been apart from his kids for more than a day in their lives. Seeing them once a week on a Saturday for 3 months isn't enough for him. He loves his kids too much to be apart from them for even that short amount of time. And so ignites the hook of this movie.
Daniel, hi.
Could you make me a woman?
That's right, Danny, the genius he is, decides to enlist the help of his makeup artist, special effects specialist brother to transform him into an elderly woman. And so ensues Danny's plan to seduce a wealthy widower, get himself a Mr. Moneybags.
I'm a hip old granny who could hip-hop, bebop, dance till you drop.
Wait 5 to 10 years for him to die, inherit his estate, purchase the properties neighbouring Miranda's house, demolish and convert the land into a donkey sanctuary, force his now ex-wife to sell their house under market value, buy the house, and leave Miranda stuck minding those 3 brats. No, I'm only kidding. What actually happened is so much worse. Danny poses as a house sitter so he can sneak around the court rulings and see his kids every day. His ex-wife doesn't want to see him anymore, and instead of respecting that, he makes it so that he's with her every day. You know, it's a wonder their marriage didn't work out.
You see, he's the kind...
Excuse me, dear. I'm sure you normally would encourage the children to step out of the room before you verbally bash their father.
Well, if I did that, I might never see them again.
In fairness to Danny, he really commits to the role. And he has to. He has to be 100% on the money, utterly convincing. And even when he gets the job, he has to be tough on the kids, so he gets to keep the housekeeper job. He has to get results to keep Miranda happy. And oddly enough, the children really flourish with Mrs. Doubtfire. Right now, the only characters we're really focusing on are Danny, Miranda, and the kids, but it's worth talking about the character of Stuart, or Stu. So basically, this guy is an old client of Miranda who just suddenly wants to meet with Miranda to look at sketches after years of not seeing her. Yeah, alright there, pal. Real subtle.
Anything you need, just put on my tab, okay?
Thank you, dear. Touch me again, I'll drown you, you bastard.
A lot of this movie's comedy comes from the parts of Danny he just can't keep hidden. The little cracks that appear in his facade. Sometimes he just can't help himself. He breaks character. And Stu is perhaps the biggest cause of this. The man creeping in on Danny's family. Stu isn't even a bad guy from what we can tell. I mean, yeah, of course, from Danny's perspective, he's an absolute nightmare come to life. But he seems to be a nice guy. He's getting older. He always had a thing for Miranda and wants to be with her. He wants to make her happy. And he actually loves the kids. Usually these types of characters are sleazy and hate the kids. All they want is to, look at sketches. But all Stu wants is to settle down with the woman he loves. Is that really so bad?
Oh, isn't he a stunning piece of work? Look, Neddy, that's called liposuction.
During the early stages of Danny and Miranda's divorce, things are a little ugly. They are angry and upset with each other. Miranda is a little bitchy at first. She refers to the kids as hers.
Are my children ready yet?
No, our children are not ready yet because you are an hour early and you were an hour.
Danny only has 1 day per week with them, but Miranda drops them off late and collects them early. As the movie progresses, they begin to see each other as people again, and ironically it is Mrs. Doubtfire that enables this, but it's really just Danny. At a certain point in the movie, I think Danny has the realization of, oh damn, I could have made this work. I could have had everything. Danny was always the good cop to Miranda's bad cop. He always forced her to be the wet blanket.
I didn't like who I was when I was with him. I would turn into this horrible person. I didn't want my kids growing up with a mother like that.
Funnily enough, while portraying Mrs. Doubtfire, he's finally behaving the way he should have always been behaving. He thought that he had to be one of the kids in order to be their friends. But no, he could have just been dad, and they would have loved him. Mrs. Doubtfire is an all-inclusive movie. It's made for everyone, and it has something for everyone. Watching it as an adult, the amount of adult jokes are actually really surprising. They went way over my head as a kid.
Fellow gives a gift like that, he wants more than a piece of her heart, eh? Bit of a going down payment, huh?
And these aren't just silly jokes. They're funny and actually really clever, clearly written by competent writers, or improvised from the wonderful Robin Williams. This is not a children's movie. Mommy and Daddy don't get back together again. Miranda finds out Danny's ploy, and when the judge finds out, he awards full custody of the kids to her. The only times Danny will be able to see his kids from now on would be under supervision, like he's some sort of criminal or threat to his kids. Just imagine that. A man who loves his children more than anything else in the world. A man who would sell his soul to the devil for them. Being viewed as a danger to them. What Danny did was nothing short of pure lunacy. And that is the immediate reaction from everyone. The movie ends with Danny and Miranda settling their differences and acknowledging the pain they've both caused each other, forgiving each other in the process. They don't get back together. I actually like to imagine that it worked out between Miranda and Stu, but Miranda lets go of her anger and resentment towards Danny. She knows he needs these kids, and she knows they need him. And not as Mrs. Doubtfire this time, but just as he is. Finally understanding what it means to be a good dad, and even though they are separated, a good husband. Mrs. Doubtfire sets out to do more than just make you laugh. It sets out to make you reflect on yourself, make you appreciate the family you have. It shows parents that each and every moment you can possibly spend with your children is worth fighting for. The film being utterly hilarious and joyous is just the cherry on top. For those reasons, I truly do consider Mrs. Doubtfire to be the greatest comedy movie ever made.